What up, everyone? This is Mr. Lord Dr. Professor Dark Joker here with another edition of Traditional Fans with Opinions, where I'll give my reviews for whoever I watched, read, or played today. And who are traditional fans with opinions? That is myself, and that is you, the viewers. With all that being said, on with the reviews. One Piece, episode 1148. So in this episode, the main focus is on Vegapunk's broadcast. So it's getting to, basically everyone's reacting to, Vegapunk saying that the world's gonna sink. And people are like, what? If you're gonna lie, make it believable. So people think he's just crazy or something. And like, basically, so and then while it's going on, you have the Straw Hats fighting the Five Elders. With the help, of course, Dorian and Broggy are helping out. So you have a lot of this going on. So for Vegapunk's message, um, he says that, hey, a few days after recording this, there will be a major earthquake, and the sea level will rise 1 meter, and everyone around remembers. Wait, this was recorded a few days ago, so but there was an earthquake like today, and the water level rose 1 meter, caused a bunch of islands to be inhabitable. So everyone's like, crap, he predicted that. And Vegapunk says, if this thing doesn't happen, does not happen. Ignore everything I said. I say after this. But if I'm right, pay attention to what I'm about to say. So yeah, so then basically, and all the five elders are trying to find where the broadcast is from. Basically, like, so it's funny. Yeah, Mars and Saturn are just using their hockey to just kill all these transponder snails. It's like wipe out all life on the island, and so they're just using like their presence to just kill a bunch of transponder snails. I'm like, Rick, I don't remember that in the manga, but that is some arm farming there. Like I was like, oh frick, these guys are awesome villains, and like and you see different people reacting to it, like from around the world. Because one, Vegapunk's a very well-known name, so if he's saying a message out, people are going to be interested. And also, given the nature of what he's saying, and so then he mentions Vegapunk says he was doing a lot of research to figuring out how to bring peace, and that led him into using research materials that were found, basically Ohara, and he learned how to read poneglyphs. And by his word, he learned about so he starts explaining, say there was a great war between basically he says he doesn't know, there's not enough info. He says he's not gonna try to fill in the blanks in the incomplete story that he has with his speculations, because basically he can't prove anything. He basically says he's only gonna give the facts that's made known to him. He's not gonna speculate anything. So he says he doesn't know. He isn't gonna explain as a good versus evil thing. He's gonna say a battle between two ideologies. And he says basically there was this great civilization that basically no longer exists. And 900 years ago, uh, a man named Joy Boy was born, and he was the first pirate. And like in the world. And then his crew basically was so powerful that the 20 kingdoms had to ally together to defeat him. And basically, like those 20 kingdoms formed a world government. And basically now, of course, people know, so 19 families became celestial dragons. One family, the Nefertari family, stayed in Alabasta for whatever reason. And one of the very interesting reaction is Doflamingo. So when he hears about the Ondo, see what he's like, He's telling Magellan, "Hey, the water rose 1 meter." Everyone's freaked out. What are you going? How many meters would it take for Impel Down to be flooded? What are you gonna do then? Isn't your job to protect us, Magellan? And like Vegapunk, who I believe knows about Emu. I think Doflamingo knows a lot more about a lot of the secrets of the Void Century, about the world government than he lets on. Like I think he knows a lot. Of course, there's like a big secret that he knows, whether or not it's Emu or Uranus, which a lot of people think that Emu used Uranus to destroy Lucia. Even the Revolutionary Army believes that's what was used. So yeah, so basically, a lot of stuff is going. So Vegapunk's giving all this, all basically a bunch of some of these lore drops, and so this is where the meat of the message comes into play. Now, the manga, it takes a lot of chapters for the whole message to play out. I don't know how long they're gonna spend, how many episodes they're gonna spend with the message, but like obviously this arc is about to end in a few weeks. Like by the end of the year, the Egghead arc is done in the anime because obviously it was announced they're starting next year with Elbaf. They're gonna switch to a seasonal mode like release model with 2 cours of 13 episodes each. Now we don't know if it's consecutive cours or if it's split cours, but we know first cour for season 22 starts in April. So yeah, and if it's the same, if it stays the same release day as this as like Sunday, then it's April 5th is when One Piece returns after Egghead is done. As far as will it be split or consecutive, honestly, I think it's going to be consecutive. I mean, I think it's going to be split. I could see it being consecutive if they're only doing part of Elbaf. Well, it depends on how many chapters per episode they're going to. If they're going to do standard 3 or 4, like given how short some chapters are, you could do 4 episodes per episode. So, and that could shorten the amount of that could lengthen the amount of chapters Elbaf will need before it's complete. But if they do 3, then with today's chapter, they will at least have enough to do at least part of a cour. So like we will see Rox D. Zabek spring of next year in the anime. We will see Rox. Now also these questions, how are you gonna handle opening things? Will it be like, one opening thing throughout the entire season? Whatever. Anyway, I'm getting myself there, but this is a lot of stuff's about to start. Of course, you see Emmet the robot starting to attack the Navy. That is a very important character. Like, like that robot is very important. There's a lot of stuff regarding the robot we don't know. Like, especially like that robot had attacked Mary Joa like 200 years ago. The same year that basically the Fishman Island joined the world government and slavery was outlawed. So like, as far as what exactly went down there, we don't know, but a lot of stuff's building up because Egghead is like the really big inciting incident for like basically all the stuff going on. Because, certain stuff going on in the manga that right now, like, heck, there's a lot of stuff going on outside the main island that's like the frick. Like, holy crap, there's chaos everywhere. So yeah, I really like this episode. Looking forward to the next one. One Piece, chapter 1164. So in this one, basically, Roger, Garp, Whitebeard, Kaido, and Big Mom are shocked that their attack's not doing anything to well, from their perspective, is just Saturn. They don't know about Emu basically being above them. They assume it's just part of Saturn's shadow form. Only Rox knows the truth, and Rox has been stabbed by Emu, and you see them having so basically, so Zebek says that Davy D. Jones was once king of the world. Emu says he was not a king, and basically, whatever issue existed between Emu and Davy had nothing to do with him. And he says Mew, so I don't know if that's just some honorific thing, but Emu, so basically, Emu is like he is pissed right now. He's probably pissed that he had to show up to deal with Zebek, because obviously Emu does not want himself to be exposed. And and then Zebek's like, "Hey, why are you so panicked over something like the Davy name? If well, what's your deal?" And he knows that at some reason Emu is terrified, and basically says that basically that he knows Emu's been concerned that someday Davy Jones's will be passed down, and basically Emu will have to fulfill the promise. Now, what the promise is, I don't know. And he asks Emu what's more frightening to him, Davy D. Jones or Joy Boy. So basically, this means that Davy D. Jones and Joy Boy are two separate characters. So they're not. Some people Obviously, there's some people who are theorizing that Davy D. Jones and Joy Boy may be the same character. You know, I never thought that was the case. I mean, I accepted the possibility, but I didn't think it was the case. I mean, because we had the whole deal about was Joy Boy a nickname for Nika? Of course, then we learned that Nika is from before Joy Boy. So and then basically, so after Zebek asks where Jones or Joy Boys were frightening, Emu says, "Stop dreaming." He's like, "Cease thy dreaming. The kind will never be seen again once I have eradicated thee." And he says, I have found excellent soldiers to serve you, Davy. Gigantic, harmless, and conflicted." And Zemek knows that he means the Giants, and he tells him, "Don't mess with her. All makes the Giants just want peace." And Emu says that basically Harald wanting peace gives him an opportunity to get the Giants on his side, and that basically getting King Harald as a puppet, getting a giant as a puppet will be a big deal, big opportunity that basically even says he cannot let pass up, and basically full, completely controls Zebek, and then tells him to kill his family. And then basically everyone the other four who are seeing this, I don't think they hear the words. You just see Zebek getting turned to a demon thing, and they don't know what happened. Zebek tells them to move, and basically they're like, "Wait, did you get bigger?" And so basically Emu tells Zebek to kill everyone on God Valley. And so basically this is meant to show how big of a threat Emu is. Like, oh my gosh, when the anime gets to this scene, holy frick, like the internet's gonna freaking break it with this. It will. Like when Emu appears on God Valley, the internet is going to break when the anime gets to this. Like there are scenes from manga readers for various franchises know that when anime adaptation adapts a certain scene in manga, they know the internet is going to react. Like of course Gear 5 with One Piece was a big one. Dragon Ball Super with Ultra Instinct. You know, which DBS sucks anyway, but objectively, Ultra Instinct was a big deal. I mean, and of course, we didn't necessarily have social media when the Super Saiyan transformations, made their debuts. So but those would have been a big deal, especially Goku's first Super Saiyan 1 transformation and Gohan's Super Saiyan 2 transformation. Anyway, but so basically everyone's shocked at so Zebek starts attacking. He knocks out Kaido and Big Mom. And so he not after Zebek knocks down Kaido, Big Mom asked if Zebek's betraying his crew, and so Big Mom's knocked out, and so basically Whitebeard asks what's going on, and so their clash of their swords, you see a big sparks of hockey that so Whitebeard puts up a bear fight, and it causes a mountain to fall down. So one of the split mountain in God Valley, one of those halves falls to the ground. Like everyone is running away from it. Basically, and all the pirate crews, the Celestial Dragons, the Navy, everyone's being told to just get off the island, get off. And of course, you have some of the pirates, their ground treasure. You know, Dragon is sad about losing Shanks, so he's trying to find where he's sad about not being. He says he can't even save a single. Says I can't even save a single baby. Where did he go? And then you see Ivankov, um, Ginny, and Kuma. They're trying to run away, and Kuma is still trying to find people to save to get out of there. And then Zebek reaches Eris and Teach, and Eris notices how Zebek got turned to a demon, and she says, "So you lost then? Sorry, dear, you had to face off in order to save us, but it was too early, wasn't it?" So it seems like that Eris knows, I guess at least some about what Zebek knows. Like she knows somewhat about what about the truth of the world, and then Eris tells Teach that, hey, we'll jump to the sea, we'll swim, we'll do whatever it takes to keep the Davy clan alive. And she says that Teach must survive no matter what. And so before Zebek is able to kill Eris and Teach, um, basically Akuma uses his pawpaw fruit power to send them away. And then, I guess he sends himself away too, somewhere. And then so right as Zebek is able to slash, so basically he keeps Zebek from killing his wife and son. And you see a big explosion happening, I guess from where Zebek did his big slash. And you see Emu telling him to just kill everyone on the island. And some of the soldiers are telling Garp to get off the island. Garp is saying he's waiting until everyone else is on the island. Roger's doing the same thing with his crew, waiting until everyone else evacuates. Then you see Roger and Garp confront Zebek, and you see Zebek is doing something where I guess something with his mind, he's able to telepathically communicate with Garp and Roger. I, I now I don't know if Garp hears. Looks like Roger hears. Sounds like it's like the voice of all things, that type of thing. And Roger asks why does Zebek look like that, and you see Zebek crying, telling Garp and Roger to kill him. So then that leads to the fight of Roger and Garp versus Zebek. So that's the fight that we've heard, hey, Zebek was killed by, was defeated by Roger and Garp. that he was so powerful that Roger and Garp had to team up to defeat him. So it looks like this is the big fight with that. I don't know how long this fight will be, cause I think it will. If there depends on when's the next break, because I could see like the fight ending between like basically Roger and Garp will kill Zebek, or at least defeat Zebek, whether or not it's Emu that actually kills Zebek, or if it's actually those two, who knows? But basically, that fight will end whenever the next break happens. Like I think there will be a week long break after the you know after Zebek's defeated and killed. But yeah, I really like this chapter, dude. The way the visuals, the way they're selling Emu as a villain is freaking awesome. Like, ooh, he might end up surpassing Doflamingo as the best villain in One Piece. He might, with what they're doing with him, like how they're setting him up as a threat. Like he could end up being the best villain in One Piece when it's all said and done, because he is being set up very well as a threat. Like, and things it's like, man, who? I'm wondering how much did Zebek tell Eris about like what he knows about the truth of the world? Because obviously, Zebek knows about Emu, so obviously that's probably the biggest reason he was such a big target. But yeah, so hmm, I am really interested in how they're doing this. Like, I'm very interested in how they end like because God Valley's like whenever the next break happens, the chapter right before the brief hiatus will be the end of God Valley. I think. Like I think that's it. So yeah, I really like this chapter. Looking forward to the next one. The Elusive Samurai, chapter 225. So in this one, so with the evil deity leaving Takaji's body, so obviously that like affects his like unnatural luck. Basically, that luck declines. So like basically it's going to take time for his divine power to be fully depleted, and but his reinforcements will start to gather. And then basically everyone wants to fight to just finish it, but they can't. So like basically they withdraw to like regroup. But they're glad to have defeated the evil god within Takaji. And then, you know, basically like so then Nezu says that tells Tokiyuki he wants to be able to sneak in to kill Takaji. Wants to sneak in or to like basically while they're in disarray. So basically he thinks a single warrior could get through. Shino says that, basically it's too dangerous that even Gimba wouldn't be able to do it. Return alive. Habuki offers to go, but he has fatigue. And basically Usagi says that's a side effect of him being of Fubuki being resurrected. He has much endurance. He can get sudden illnesses, shortened lifespan, so he shouldn't overexert. So Tokiyuki tells Fubuki the rest. But Tokiyuki agrees with letting Nezu go. It's basically he knows how much strength Nezu has left, how much he can fight, all this stuff. He knows that basically says that he thinks Nezu will be able to come back fine. Then Nezu before he leaves he said he asked Shina that once he gets back from killing Takaji, he asked if Shina would marry her. Everyone's shocked at that. And like Toki's like he wanted to be one to tell Nezu about Sheena being into him to like basically he wanted to be matchmaker, and then Suzuku's like basically Kojiro. When someone says when I get back, let's get married, it means they always end up dead. Basically, it's a reference to how media that happens a lot. Genba's like, hey, shut up, let's hear her answer. Sheena says that she's too old for Kojiro, so she can't. And then basically Sheena says that she wanted to wait a little bit because she wanted make sure Nezu was still okay, like with battle, be obsessed with battle, and let his obsessed with battle weekend over time. Nezu says, hey, however old they are, it doesn't matter. Basically, he says that he's wanted to marry Sheena ever since they met. Now, I don't know Sheena's age in, you know, I don't know like Sheena's age in, in Elusive Samurai. Nezu is 25 currently. Like, currently he's 25. So, Nezu, I don't know. Well, so Sheena, I don't know her age. Like, that's gonna be interesting. So, like, I don't know how old she is. Like, that's not really provided. Like, it's not. So, I don't know how old she is. I don't know what the age difference is. So, like, obviously they're saying up. So, who knows what happens now? So, now Nagao offers to go with Nezu and, to like, basically, hey, basically says they need to bring as much force as possible to fuel some people, so it'd be a good idea for both of them to go. So Nezu's like, all right, he says he and the gal can compete, see who I guess outdoes the other. So then they sneak in, they like basically make themselves look like injuries, look like they're injured to like infiltrate the camp. So like basically so they pretend to look wounded and then they infiltrate the Ashikaga, main camp. And they say that they killed the Nia clan. They ask for audience with with Shogun Takagi. So they start heading over towards Takagi, and then Yakushiji Kiyoshi says, "Wait, you're Nagao and Nezu," and then basically ends with like something like the Tahiki makes special mention of a clash involving two great warriors. So like basically it's implied they're about Nezu and Nagao are about to be involved in a very big fight. So yeah, I like this chapter. Like how they're setting up. Obviously we're getting close to the end game of this series. Like historically we are getting close to when Tokiyuki dies, and it's implied that his wives are pregnant. So and also Nezu with all his stuff. We'll see what happens with him. So yeah, I really like this chapter. Looking forward to the next one. Kagurabachi Chapter 99. So in this one, um, Hagiwara is knocked down by this kid in the Hishaku who's like just starts wrecking people, and then basically and he's like able to regenerate. So then Kiri and Hakuri team up to attack the kid. With Hakuri providing support using his like sorcery abilities like Isao, and so Kiri's able to with Hakuri's help is able to cut the kid's head off, but he's still alive. Like his body still moves around and grabs his head, and he says, basically like if Yora says something, it's true. And he said, basically it. And Yora told him he was the strongest Hishaku, so it has to be true. Basically, everyone's like, "Crap, is this guy invincible?" I forgot what to do to this guy. So then you see and you're having to defeat a bunch of Kaminari members, and so Yura calls the kid Yuki Sada. So a bunch of people are knocked out. So you see Yura holding Azumi's arm, imply that Azumi's dead or at least severely injured. So then you have Yura saying he's here down below, hinting Sword Master. So obviously they're setting up the Sword Master getting released and all that. So yeah, I really like this chapter. Liked how they handled Yukisada, and Yura. Like how they set up all these fights, set up the Sword Master being released for a big confrontation. So yeah, I really like this chapter. Looking forward to the next one. Ultimate Exorcist Kiyoshi Chapter 67. So in this one, so all the exorcists figure out what they're gonna do, like the demon world, and then Kiyoshi says he has a friend, the demon world, who he owes his life to. Tom what courage is, and he says he's like a friend, like a father to him, and he owes his life to him. So Shishido says, hey, if an exorcist, heard him say that, you know, they most will look down on him, but he says you're punk. It was like basically he calls him punk rock. He likes it. So Hitsugi wants to help out as well. He says exercising the son of a demon lord is definitely worth doing. So then like everyone starts heading to you know basically Gaga's cat like the demon lord's castle. So basically he's like hey if the basically the two other guys basically if they die since they work for him, it's not as big a deal. But since Kiyoshi and Hitsugi don't work for him, it's a bigger deal. He says, "Hey, let's race. You know, we gotta wipe out Gaga's forces in the castle." And basically, if they don't do it, they'll just use a stage ground for the massacre of Asura Ross territory, and plus they could use it as a base. So it's basically calls it killing two birds with one. So it says if Hitsugi and Kiyoshi lose the race, they go home. And, and he said, "Let's go." So then they race. They start getting to the castle, and then start attacking some of the demons. And you see some demons. They're like wondering that why Gaga's taking a while, and they wonder if they should just go to Suros territory, and just wipe them out, all the demons out themselves. And then basically you see a Hitsugi and Kiyoshi get in there. They start fighting those demons. They exorcise them, and basically, and apparently, Kiyoshi can't use a lot of his preset powers for more than 3 minutes a day because if he does, he'll risk actually not being able to do it ever again. So Kiyoshi has to be a little careful. And then so Kiyoshi and Hitsugi had basically technically won the race. They reached the throne room, and then it's implied that Shishido had helped them win. And then, Suso calls their full team Demon Realm Protectors, with Protectors ending with a Z. And basically, she says that Hellzebub has three kids Bobo, Lulu, and Gaga. And basically, they're the ones who are in charge when it comes to the massacre. And before he can finish, um, basically, you see the wall breaking. And you see, like, at the throne, you see someone come in and Ross Throne. And then Sisha recognizes him and thrilled it's the great demon lord Hellzebub. So obviously they're setting Hellzebub as the big bad for this arc. So yeah, so I guess that's what they're gonna do. So I guess the first big arc you have Stu the Roth, of course he's dead. Like I'll surprised they were keeping the manga going after Suiroth's death, but then they were setting up Beelzebub. And I guess after that it'll be the third one, whoever that is. But yeah, I really like this chapter. Like how he's setting up the demon lords. So yeah, I like this chapter. Looking forward to the next one. Ichi the Witch, chapter 57. So in this one, you see some of Kizoshi's backstory. So when he first manifested, he made a friend with this fish that was darting around. So he called him Darty. Basically, they were both alone, so they hung out. So as Kizoshi growed, more basically said, they would eat. So they would eat together, swim together, play together, and flop on the seafloor together. But Kiyoshi had accidentally flopped on the ground. He squished Darty and killed it, and he cried for a while about it. Basically, when the tears stopped, he said that the whole Darty's death was Darty's fault for being weaker than Kizashi, and he's like he couldn't change how strong it was. Basically, Darty was so weak. If he could actually get killed, it's Darty's fault. That's how he saw it. And then basically he doesn't want that to happen again. So he only's gonna be friends with those who are strong. And then basically, so while fighting Ururo, who's possessing Ichi right now, he believes he's come across someone who could be his bestest bud of all time, bestest best bud of all time, as he puts it. And he says, and Uro's like, "Hey, that's a weird trial you got." Messenger's like, "This guy kill you, but you don't die." And said, and it, and Uro's like, "How about vaporize?" He basically says he's heard there's a way to destroy magics regardless of trial. And he asks if he could break Kiyoshi down to Cyril, could he still regenerate? Kiyoshi, who's I guess also is feeling nervous a little bit from that, so he can still regenerate. And he asks if Uro could be his friend. And then you see Uro just attack Kizashi. And it's like all these attacks. And then basically yeah, so so obviously Ururo is like trying to just kill everyone, and then Ichi is gradually taking control, and it's like time's up. And so and then you see like with this so Ichi's able to regain control of his body. Ururo's pissed, but Ichi's able to regain control. So yeah, I like this chapter. Like how you're saying up, interesting how they handle all this. So obviously there's still some stuff left, I guess, with Kizashi. So we'll see like how they handle the rest of the trial. So I like this chapter. Looking forward to the next one. Other than Flame, chapter 25. So in this one, you see Evergreen and Jormungandr like defeat like their opponents, and then basically after that with the battle being over, and then basically so Ogre tries to introduce himself to Evergreen, and so while they're propelling, so Ogre's group's preparing like food and stuff, and then Ogre says, "Hey, y- so Evergreen's where why they're using ingredients and firewood." And basically, or like, no, actually, this is all stuff we had on our ship. And basically, he wants to show Kersey, and basically, Grace Kersey, his homeland is a warm meal. He wanted to show Evergreen that, and basically, she doesn't want it, but Verda eats it. And she's like, oh, it tastes good. And basically, Oda says he heard that smoked dishes are treated as the ultimate delicacy in the land of the great tree. He asked for permission to break a tree branch. Verda and so Evergreen asked for Verda to guide him. And so you see over the course of a few days, you see Oder trying to, I guess, learn from Evergreen, trying to basically you see gradually like Evergreen gradually starts tolerating Oder and respects Oder because Oder's actually being a little polite. Basically 9 days after I guess I don't know if it's 9 days after arriving or 9 days after the previous panel. Um, basically Evergreen tells Oder to follow her, and basically Oder goes into like this sauna area with Evergreen and Verda. Yeah, and Oder's a little nervous because basically now everyone has towels over them, but basically he's in a small room with two naked women. In essence, that's what's going on. And then Evergreen says that that she'll now summon the fire spirit using the secret ritual. And then basically she pours some potion onto the hot coals, and she tells Oder to inhale the mist from the potion. And then she asks Oder how he came across the Filgia. You know, is it a partner? Is it a slave? Weapon comrade? And she asks why does Oder want to summon back the spirit. Oder says he wants to talk with her more. Basically, if it was always considerate towards her, but he wants to know more about her, and he wants Filgia to be able to share like her regrets with him. So in um the Evergreen and Verda guide Oder to these hot springs called Udar Brodner, the spring that weaves fate. Basically, it's made from the morning dew of the world tree. Basically, there's a bunch of magic in. So Oder gets into the spring, and then basically everyone says there was a time where she couldn't hear Jormungandr, Jormungandr, and then basically like it's weird for her. She knows it's weird for her to talk about the middle of a war, and she says that she thinks that Oda should talk to his spirit while he can. You know, basically, Oda says, hey, he'll try to talk with Filgia, and then apparently that's step one, and then Evergreen says that she'll try to establish direct contact with Filgia. Basically, I guess she's able to says that she's kind. She explains to Oda some of the lore about the elves, how Verda starts talking about it, how Phil so Verda talks to Oda about how Evergreen's actually kinder than she lets on. She explains that elves were seen as protectors. Well, seen as products, basically people were invading, so they had to protect their people. Basically, and a lot of them would cut off their own ears so they wouldn't become like basically products of some humans. And so basically, Evergreen created this autonomous region. Everyone grew stronger, and basically Evergreen hates humans in order to protect like her people. And then basically, so Evergreen Pierce says the ritual's done, preparation ritual are done, and then you see some ice when the ice demons were saying thanking Dodola that saying she made time, saying that the spell he did, she's gonna now kill the Flame Warrior. So basically, they're setting up the next big fight with this arc. So yeah, I like this chapter, like how they're setting up, gradually building up the elves to set up the next part of the story. With this arc, obviously, setting up, Philgia returning. So yeah, I really like this chapter. Looking forward to the next one. Harukaze Mound Chapter 20. So in this one, Nagiharu faces off with big shot batter named Ikazuchi Goya. So one of Aoka- Aokaze's teammates. Basically, he's like a very good batter. So basically, so they pitch. So Ibuki's able to get two swing and misses from him, and then on the third pitch, basically Ika, Ikazuchi hits the third one, and so yeah, but so basically, Nagiharu lost, but they both him and Ikazuchi enjoyed the matchup, and they agreed to settle it on the field whenever they next meet. Basically, obviously Nagiharu was probably not happy that he lost, but basically he's looking forward to the challenge. So then everyone decides to prepare for the, I guess, matchup between those two teams. It looks like they're setting up those two teams being the future. Also, we knew that Nagaharu and Alkaze were going to go against each other at some point, and this is like trying to set that up. So Sam, like Nagaharu versus Alkaze versus Ikazuchi being a big batter versus pitcher matchup. So that's going to be cool to see. So then everyone starts preparing for, I guess, the next big. All of Hina's players get inspired to, prepare themselves for the next game. So yeah, I like this chapter. Liked how they're setting up, the net, how they're setting up the net, like that potential matchup between the two schools. So and the two brothers. So yeah, I really like this chapter. Looking forward to the next one. Ping-Pong Peril, Chapter 17, and full series. So in this one, Tyro wakes up, so he sees a Mutsuki. Basically, they meet up with the administrators, who's an alien. So, alien explains that basically, so ping pong peril is a thing that exists across the universe as a way to negotiate. So basically, instead of fighting wars, a lot of the like extreme negotiations are handled through ping pong peril. And basically, so one they introduced the ping pong peril to Earth to figure out who could be Earth's representative. And Tyra's chosen to be Earth's representative. And so and Earth has like a bunch of different resources that a lot of planets want, and that's why the role of Earth ambassador is very important. Then you see a time jump to a year later. So basically, whatever alien tech Mutsuki got really helped KSI. And then, so Momo, I guess, doesn't know how Tyra was able to pay back the billion yen, but she just knows he was able to pay it back. And then, basically, yeah, so then, and when Tyra arrives at Mutsuki's facility, so basically he has to do, I guess, a ping pong peril match, and we don't see who he's going against, but that it just shows him preparing for the next match. So yeah, I like this chapter. It definitely felt a little rushed. It feels like this is something you would do to help introduce the next stage. If you're gonna do like more of like showing, all the okay, you just introduce aliens at the end. I would like to see like him going against aliens, seeing how they fight, how they do like their different ping pong matches, how they play. Like if some have more than two arms, how do they do that? If they don't have arms, do they just float or something? Like interesting how different aliens play. That'd be cool to see. And so I guess if this had continued on, that's what we have gotten. But we just got with him just becoming Earth's ambassador. So yeah, overall, I like this series. Yeah, the alien thing did feel a little rushed, a little forced at the end. I would like to see more of it. But with what we got, I thought it was fine. I thought it was a good series. So yeah, Gachiakuta episode 17. So this episode primarily focuses on the fight between Zanka and Jabber. So while Zanka is being attacked, you see like when he's knocked down, he remembers his past, when he was at, the Central Prison Guard Training School. Basically, he was considered like a genius by everyone, like a prodigy. Everyone until like this new student named Hio who came from like the slums, like just wrecked everyone, including him, and that pissed him off because he was used to being better than everyone, so it made him feel mediocre. Then when it came time for everyone to like choose different items, he got a stick while Hio got katana. So he felt weird about it, and he like wandered to like this hole. He's basically, I guess, he was ashamed by having the stick. And so then you see a engine arrive, basically, well, engine and Rio arrive, in this flashback, like, talking to him, saying basically, I guess they'll be back soon. I guess they want to see him again, telling him, as engine asks why, he, even though he says he doesn't like the stick, why does he seem like he wants to keep it? So then you see Zanka telling Jabber that he's gonna show the power of like basically says mediocre or average Joe. In the manga, it's at least in K manga, it's translated as average Joe. In the Crunchyroll translation is mediocre since he feels like he's not a natural born talent. So he starts fighting Jabber, but it's revealed to be a hallucination. Basically, he's like passed out, and Jabber's like excited seeing Zanka struggle. So yeah, and then like he says, maybe he wants to sacrifice Zanka to like, the trash beast as he puts it. And then yeah, dude, it's gonna be and this is a scene I've been wanting to see, you know with all this. So like, I think, I really like this episode because I've read the manga, so I knew about this fight between Jabber and Zanka, how cool it's gonna be. But yeah, dude, it's freaking awesome. Like, I really like, but yeah, so I really like, and there's some, I guess, people like getting, looks like you have people being sacrificed to a trash beast. Now, there's a reason for that. Has to do with like, this is the trash storm arc. So like, there's some the big reveal about where everyone's located. But yeah, I really like this episode. Looking forward to the next one. Jujutsu Kaisen Modulo Chapter 9. So in this chapter, I guess with that chieftain star being attacked, whatever. So everyone has to fight. So Dora has to fight like a match against his friend Dabura. So like, basically like they don't want to fight her. They just do. They're fighting her because they have to. They're both being forced to. And so Dabura like kills Dura in the fight, and then yeah, so basically, so Dora is buried, and then and so you see Dabura arrive, and so he shows them all this mule, which is like a major resource on the planet of Simura, and then Basically, it looked like he was wanting to hide the doors, wanting to hide the mule from the this cunt, or I guess to help I guess the Remulans or help rebuild, and then yeah, so basically then they gained some hope despite over realizing Dora was setting up for them to be able to survive without him. So then you see Maru and Cross using some sorcery on the mule, and then they said, "Hey, let's look for a place where they can live," and so basically, let's go to space to find their neighbors. Basically, so that's supposed to explain, I guess, why they're on a journey to find a new place to live. So I liked this chapter. I liked how they explain, Maru and Cross's backstory, their modes and stuff. So how that plays a role in the rest of the series, who knows? But yeah, I like this chapter. Looking forward to the next one. Tulsa King, season 3, episode 7. So in this one, um, you know, basically, Dwight tells Renzetti that the hit that just happened was meant for him, and he offers like a cut in Dwight's liquor business, basically in exchange for Renzetti helping give him some new business in the Northeast. Then Dwight meets with Attorney General Sackrider, and basically they discuss how Sackrider is loyal to Dunmire, and Dwight asks for Joanne's liquor license to be restored. And then basically, so Margaret meets up with Sackrider's wife Anna for lunch to try and learn more about Sackrider's personal life. And then they ask Thresher to basically, I guess, talk with the Sackrider to get Sackrider to support Thresher in his in his governor's campaign, and basically arrange some things on behalf of Dwight. Then you have Goody, Tyson, Spence. They try to do a drug theft, by pretending to be police. Yeah. So Thresher, Sackrider, they meet up. Dwight's team monitors them. Sackrider basically refuses at first, but he accepts some gaming chip, complimentary, like I guess gambling gaming chips from his house. So and basically Dunmire threatens Dwight for because he visited Sackrider. Now Sackrider likes to gamble, it's shown, and basically Grace switches the dice to make it to fix the game to where Sackrider ends up in debt to I guess the gambling house, and basically Grace offers Sackrider 100K line of credit. Now Sackrider accepts that and loses. Thresher basically you know he's mad that he realizes that was playing him. Dwight and Margaret were playing him, basically to get Sackrider enticed to the gambling operation. And so Dwight has Sackrider's gambling debt waived in exchange for Joanne's license restored. And Dunmire then assaults Sackrider in his office, and that leads to Dunmire getting arrested. So obviously that's going to set up, how does Dunmire handle all this? Like, how does he handle, prison, getting out of prison? I mean, because he's probably going to get out of prison. How does he react to this? Handle Dwight? Obviously, a big confrontation's about to happen. So yeah, I really like this episode. Looking forward to the next one. One Punch Man, season 3, episode 4. So this episode, it's more like just a lot of setup. So the S-class heroes are assembled, to fight the Monsters Association. And then, there's a whole bit where so all the people that are in Saitama's apartment, basically they're all eating, Basically, Saitama's a hot pot food, so everyone's eating. Then so Garo um breaks into like the Monster Station base in order to say like and saves the kid and basically preparing to get out. So basically, this is just setting up a bunch of conflict. Like it's setting up like I guess the rest of the season with like like because that's what a lot of this is. It's set up. I mean, but in things with One Punch Man, in regards to Saitama, if he beats every enemy in one punch, it's not much action, so you have to do a bunch of comedy stuff. So about everything is set up. That is how the series works. It all sets up Saitama coming in, ending stuff in one punch. But yeah, so overall, I liked this episode. The humor was great. Yeah, the whole deal of Tatsumaki like just wanting Fubuki to not get involved in the fight, how she basically was threatening like the guy for the Hero Association to not get Fubu- Fubuki were involved. I thought that was funny. But yeah, overall, I thought it was a decent episode. Looking forward to the next one. Gonron Egg Chapter 2. So in this one, uh, Gonron and the Egg Prince or whatever, they're chowing around, and basically, so they see like this guy get basically abused by like his by the Drakark's slave master. And so there's a whole bit where Garn was trying to find like his sister Iris, you know, and then so basically the kid who's like, so this Drakark is trying to make his slave, whose name is Alta, basically I guess kill himself. So like Gonron and the egg save Alta, and then they attack the Drakark and kill him. Basically freeing I guess the slaves that are there. So yeah, I like this chapter. Obviously, so deal with a lot of the Drakarks don't like, the egg's father. So like, I like this chapter, like how they're saying building up, Gone Wrong and the Egg like as a duo, like bases like Freedom Fires, like how they're gradually building that up. So, I like this chapter, looking forward to the next one. Mayor Kingstown Season 4, Episode 2. So in this one, of course, this deals with a lot of fallout from Kyle being attacked. So Mike is pissed off about what happened. He confronts, Warden Hobbs about it. And, Hobbs is kind of dismissive of Mike. And basically, Mike then uses his connections to target Kyle's attacker. And then, there's a prison guard named Doug Carney who's murdered, by Cortez. And so basic drill that Hobbs had ordered the hit, basically using her deputies' connections to the Colombians. Basically, I guess it's believed to be meant to, basically help solidify Hobbs's control as warden and lessen Mike's influence. And then, Evelyn's, doing a bunch of investigations, mostly focusing on Mike's associate Ian Ferguson. And you have this guy named Detroit gangster named Frank Moses who arrives and meets with Bunny, and basically there's a whole deal of like there's build up right now with different factions being formed, different conflicts about to happen. So obviously looks like Hobbs versus Mike is inevitable right now. So that should be interesting. And then yeah, so I like this episode, like how they're setting up all the different players in the conflict, and yeah, I like this episode. Looking forward to the next one. The Mage Next Door, Chapter 1. So in this one, so this is a new series that started on Suisha. So in this chapter, mage named Toya Osogawa is basically sent by basically so Osagawa is a he's a very good mage. He kind of uses it just as to be lazy, but then he basically all the mages get sent a mental message from the divine Magus about Osagawa being needed. Basically, that Osagawa needs to see her at once. So when Osagawa gets there, basically the divine Magus sends him to the human world to hunt rogue wizards who are doing evil in the human world. He doesn't necessarily Osagawa doesn't necessarily agree to it, but he's you know basically like he doesn't want to, Osagawa doesn't want to do the job, but like he basically so Divine Magus just sends him there. And then yeah, Hosogawa was originally from the human world, but he doesn't, I guess, remember as well. It's been a while. But yeah, so then in this, Hosogawa comes across this guy who was riding a motorcycle, offers to give him a ride. Basically, he stays like in his house for the night, but then some wizards had robbed like the store, so Hosogawa chases him, gets stuff back, arrests the wizards, have them be sent back to the magic world, and he basically says bye to the guy and his mother, and after rebuilding their damaged store, then he continues on his journey, and then yeah, so I like to start like how they showed off Osagawa's powers, like how they introduced him, saying up the basic premise, hey, going after rogue wizards, that should be fun. So yeah, I really like this chapter. Looking forward to the next one. Well, and that's it. Did y'all like the stuff I reviewed? And if you have your own opinions about all that, you can put all that in the comments. Thank you for watching, and like, subscribe, and all that. And look forward to the next video.